Funniest thing happened with this video. I'd actually gone to another location and I really wanted to use my new Nikon 24-120 f4S lens to do some long exposure photography. I was expecting some really good cloud as well as some rough seas. And it was like that. Like for a good majority of the day, it was fantastic. I was starting to get all my B-roll using the lens with the Nikon Z7, getting these waves to come in and crash all over the rocks. Worked really well. Then, cloud disappeared into nothingness. It's like Charlton Heston stood there and said, "Behold his mighty hand." Anyway, I've decided to come here to good old faithful Lake Samson Vale for a sunset. And the cloud is looking really good. It's a beautiful afternoon. Let's go and have some fun with the Nikon Z7 and the Nikon 24-120 f4S lens. We're just coming into the end of our summer here in Australia. How are you guys going up in the Northern Hemisphere, by the way? Is the cold starting to dissipate yet? I heard you had a pretty bad winter this year, so let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I'm heading back out to one of my favourite lakes. This is Lake Samson Vale in Queensland, Australia. And there's always good compositions in the water with some of these dead trees. And I thought it's going to be really good to be able to use the Nikon Z7 with that lens and get a long exposure. So here I am, I'm just starting at my first location down here. I'm just going to try, have a look down this way, see what I can see. Oh yeah, just got a little inkling feeling it's going to be a good sunset. So I'm really liking this little bit of, I guess this little tiny dead tree right here. Should look pretty good. The sun's just getting down into position. The cloud is looking fantastic. It's moving so quick. Because the last two sunsets that we've had here have been absolute rippers. This time I've made an effort to get out and get this shot. I was just sitting here, I was just about to get set up. Just over near these reeds here, I heard this. What was that? It sounded like a cat coming up for air. All I know is I saw its hump go down underneath. Australia, we've got the best creatures. So while I've got that sun coming down into position, I'll just talk you through the settings on the Z7 plus the filters that I'm using. So I use leaf filters. On the front I've got a 0.6 soft grad. What that does is it just takes the edge off the sky brightness and it kind of like brings it more into line what's happening down on the lower third of the framing that I've got. In behind that I've got a big stopper. That's a 10 stop ND filter. Now with the Z7 on the settings I've got ISO 64, I'm shooting at f11. Now at the moment it's giving me a reading of 5 seconds, but what I'm going to do is just wait for that sun to get near the tip of the mountains and then I'm going to start firing off shots. Normally once the sun goes down past the mountains, I wait around that 10 to 15 minute mark and then you start getting this colour come up underneath the clouds. That's when I really go for the long exposure shot, and that's when you normally start getting long exposure times of around anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. Okay, so I've taken you through the settings on the Nikon Z7 as well as the filters that I'm using on the front of the 24-120mm f4S lens. I want to talk about framing now. What I'm going to do is utilize this dead tree in the foreground here, and I'm going to have that on the left-hand side of frame. I'm going to have that down the bottom third of frame. Then the top 2/3, I'm going to have all this cloud. Now I'm hoping that I'm going to get some color. It is looking good. And there's some beautiful light rays coming through the cloud now as that sun's coming down. The main thing is to enjoy nature. It's beautiful, peaceful, quiet, and I can just hear the subtle noise of a miniature powerboat. After telling Donald Campbell where I think he should park his miniature powerboat, I turned my attention to the sky and things were looking promising. I'm loving this cloud, what it's doing. It's coming straight over top of my shot, which is perfect, and it's going out that way. So as the sun goes down, I'm going to get a longer exposure, and I've got my shutter release cable for when I go past that 30-second mark, so I can leave the shutter open as long as I want. So that big fireball has now gone down behind the mountains. I'm just in the middle of firing off a 30-second exposure. I'm focused on this tree and I'm just going to see what this turns out like. I'm just already starting to get a little bit of color in these clouds. All right, it's okay, but I want a longer exposure. I want one where the clouds are really streaking across the sky. So what I've got is I've got my Lee Filters app on my phone, and what it does, I don't know if you can see that, it actually gives me a little timer. So all I've got to do is put in what my shutter speed is, and then it tells me basically, okay, you need to open your shutter for 2 minutes or 4 minutes. It's just a really handy app to have. I've never seen this before. This sky is just going crazy. I've got like this baby type blue on the horizon, then it blends up into like this light orangey pink, and then it goes into purple. So if you look up, you can see that all these colors are happening in the sky, and in the meantime I've got these like dark type of rain clouds coming across in my frame, and I've got the shutter open and I just can't wait to see what this shot looks like. I really am in just an awe of nature. You've got this amazing wind and these dark clouds coming through, yet up high in the sky I've got so many tones. I've got blues, yellows, pinks, orange, purple, to deep purple above me. This is why I love doing landscape photography. This is just so beautiful. What a fantastic afternoon. Nature just never ceases to amaze me. I have never seen a sky like that. And thank goodness I came out, I had the camera, great lens, and I was able to get a couple of really good shots. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Never stop creating, and I'll see you next time. It's a big eel. So that's what that thing is. Ugh. I don't know if you heard that in the microphone.